All of my friends who have kids are in hell. I don't know anyone. I actually don't know anyone who's like happy and has children at this age. I have like a 1-year-old, like 3-year-old, 4 and under, 5 and under. I literally have not met anyone who's happy, anyone who has like light in their eyes, anyone who has slept. These are not looking too good. I'm like, why am I?
Chappel Roan gets herself into more trouble by opening up her mouth once again, and I'm not a Chappel Roan hater, but let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B., and this is something I wanted to talk about because I feel like it is in the realm of social commentary that has to do with how incredibly countercultural it is to be a mom these days, okay? Honestly, when I was growing up, it was always viewed as giving up. Getting married, having kids was always giving up on life, okay? So I think now it is more countercultural to want to have children, want to have a family, want to get married than it was before. So I feel as though Chappell Roan coming on, Alex or the Call Her Daddy podcast and saying none of my friends are happy, they're all in hell. I think people can have more discernment than we used to about it. And I feel as before we would be like, yeah, she's right, this is hell, blah, 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 parents are in hell, haha, so funny. And now we're like, maybe there's a bigger discussion here, okay? Number one, people are on the internet sticking up for her, saying things like, oh, well, she said her friends. She didn't say overall, she just said her friends. Okay, well, is that really a good thing? Is that really a good thing and a nice friend to go on the podcast and a very, very popular podcast and say something like that about your friends? Because chances are your friends are struggling, okay? Because that's what hard work pays off, okay? And you're not guaranteed happiness this whole life. And life isn't meant to be lived in some sort of state of happiness. It's just unrealistic. Not to mention, Chappell Roan never looks happy herself. Okay, so Chappell Roan can come on here and say, hey, every mother I know is miserable. Well, most pop stars I know go through a pretty heavy drug phase. So I don't know what else you want me to say, Chappell, but you don't look happy any single time we see you. Any single time I see Chappell Roan, she literally has resting bitch face. Now, I don't disagree with all of Chappell Roan's takes, okay? Number one, I think she's right. We should stop looking to pop stars for political opinions, okay? But imagine being Chappell Roan's friend. Imagine being Chappell Roan's friend. Imagine being Chappell Roan's friend's kids. And when you're older, you listen to this podcast because your mom was friends with someone who was famous, and then you listen to this podcast and realize why they're not friends anymore. Who says that about their friends? I would never feel okay saying that about my friends. And having children when you're young. First of all, Chappell Roan's 27. That's not that young to start a family or even have a 3-year-old, okay? I had a 7-year-old by the time I was 27. So I was a young mom, okay? My life got significantly better. So many people around me told me my life would end. And it didn't. It had just begun. My daughter and I have done so many fun things together. And to view all of my favorite things through the lens of my daughter has been one of the greatest joys of my life. And then obviously my 2 boys thereafter. But the fact of the matter is that people are told, I think the biggest lie that millennials and below have been sold is that it is to give up to get married and have kids, when that is my greatest joy. I have gone to college. I've gotten my dream job. If you guys saw me at my job when I was having the crap beat out of me, being choked, I'm almost positive that you would have thought I was in hell, because I actually was. Working for the school system is actually hell. Being up with my kids and making that sacrifice is not hell. And even with my 3rd baby, I remember never being mad about it. I was on maternity leave. Oh, maybe motherhood is hell for Americans, by the way, because they don't have maternity leave. But I digress. Maybe advocate for maternity leave or something like that, but never mind that. I remember getting up with my son for the 3rd time in a night and just sitting there smelling his cute little hair, looking at his face, like just studying him and thinking, you know what, this is so hard, but it is so worth it, and they will only be this young for so long. I believed everybody. I had a daughter who was already 5 when I had my youngest son, and I just felt like I was robbed of her, babyhood and stuff, and I wasn't, but I just feel like time slips by so quickly, and I did remind myself in the moment, like, hey, enjoy this. Even when my friends were like, oh, I can't wait till the kids are older and it's not as hard, I'd be like, I don't mind, because the kids are young only one time. And now my kids are all of a sudden so much older. My daughter's turning 12 next week, or this week. I can't even believe that. That's not even, and once you have kids who are past the toddler stage and all of a sudden life is just like one deep breath and life is different, you realize, like, my husband and I were looking at pictures of our kids because it always pops up on my phone, and he cried. We both cried looking at the kids when they were younger and how much time has passed since even 2020. And that is not ever something that you can imagine having feelings about until it happens. You know what I mean? And I'm so glad that I didn't listen to the voices around me. It's actually why I believe in God, because it's part of my testimony, because God doesn't want me, he wasn't like slut shaming me, he just didn't want me to give birth alone or make any decision that I had to make alone. And I'm just so thankful that I had my kid, and now it's like we share very similar interests, and I went to the Panic at the Disco first tour, where they have a box set that has a DVD for it. And my daughter is now obsessed with that box set and the DVD in it. And I made a bunch of decorations that make it look like that concert. My first concert, I'm recreating it for my daughter's 12th birthday because she loved it and just so inspired by it. And it was so cool to be like, well, you were kind of there because you were an egg inside of me. And, and now we connect that way. And I loved hanging out with her even when we didn't like the same things. She was very much into different artists last year, and we hang out all the time. And I feel like I'm not talking about my sons enough, but it was having my sons wasn't as countercultural as having my daughter, and it didn't have as much impact on my entire being as a person than having your firstborn, right? And especially because I was alone, we were alone together. And it's not even that, I think that girls should go to school. I think the best thing that I did, even though I did miss out on a lot of my, baby's toddlerhood and babyhood, genuinely, I went back to school after my son was a week old. And obviously school isn't like a job. It was only for a couple hours at a time, but that was still extremely hard and it was extremely sacrificial. But I am so glad that I went to the schooling that I did, because I got to figure out, I went to school to be a counselor and I learned about normal development and abnormal development, and now I have all of these skills that I'm equipped with to be able to handle my own children. And I don't think women should not go to school, but I think that we should stop doing this to people. Stop doing this to women. I thought that this was all about choice. You know what I mean? We can still tell women the joys of motherhood while also saying how hard it is, and we can tell women how joyful having a career is and all of the ups and downs of that as well. It shouldn't mean that the choices that we make come off as us venting to people as being in hell. No, this is just hard. Just like when Chappel Roan thought it was hard when all of her fans were running up to her and it was a learning curve. Just like I'm sure it was hard for her to, as she said at her Grammys speech, to have no health care, whenever that was. What I'm getting at is everything in life that's worth it is a sacrifice. And it doesn't mean that people are unhappy. It just means that they're going through a tough time. And for Chappell Roan to come on and say that about her friends, I think is just mean. I don't think it's nice. I don't think it's a nice thing to say. I don't think Chappell Roan is happy. But I appreciate her music. I really do. I think that she has some great takes, but I also think that she's doing a disservice to her own friends, let alone women and motherhood, okay? The hatred for women and children, or mothers and children, is astronomical, and as they've said, rooted in misogyny, isn't it? Yeah. And maybe before you get on a podcast and complain about your friends, ask them what you can do to help them, okay? But that concludes my video on Chappel Roan, and I hope you liked, comment, and subscribed, and have a great day, guys. Bye!